The vast, infinite expanse of space spread out before Captain Lucas Drake like an untouched canvas, ready to be filled with the unimaginable. The stars shimmered far away, twinkling as if they held secrets from ancient times. Yet there was something different about the galaxy now. It was a galaxy in turmoil, one ruled by the mighty Galactic Alliance, a coalition of technologically advanced alien species that had conquered much of the universe. These alien forces had been roaming the galaxy for centuries, using their advanced technology to wipe out any species that dared to stand against them. They believed themselves to be the supreme rulers of the cosmos. One of the cornerstones of their arrogance was their belief that faster than light, FTL, travel was beyond any species, including humans. To the Galactic Alliance, the idea of humans developing such technology was laughable. Humans were still considered primitive in the eyes of the galaxy, despite their fierce will to survive. But what the aliens didn't know was that humans had already taken the first step into the stars. Deep within the heart of Earth's moon, in a facility hidden from the prying eyes of the galaxy, humanity was on the verge of achieving the impossible. They had found the secret to FTL travel, a technology thought to be a myth, one that had eluded civilizations far more advanced than their own. Captain Lucas Drake stood at the helm of this audacious mission, his eyes focused on the monitors before him. The vast machinery of the facility hummed quietly in the background, its lights flickering in anticipation. He knew that the future of humanity rested on his shoulders, and the weight of the moment was heavy. The stakes could not have been higher. If they succeeded, humanity would take its place among the stars, a force to be reckoned with. If they failed, extinction. The Galactic Alliance had already decimated entire worlds, and Earth was next in line. Drake turned his gaze to the crew, all of them gathered around the control center. Each one was focused, their expressions tense. Among them was Lieutenant Elena Torres, a brilliant engineer who had dedicated her life to making FTL travel a reality. She had worked tirelessly, day and night, to perfect the technology that could change everything. Drake had always admired her determination and intelligence. Now, it was time for all of them to put everything on the line. 10 seconds to activation. The voice from the console rang out. The countdown had begun. The crew held their breath. It was as if time itself was holding its own breath, waiting for something to happen. Captain Drake looked around at his team. He knew the odds were slim, but he had to trust them. He had to trust that they had done everything right. They had all trained for this moment, and now it was time to see if their efforts would pay off. Elena glanced at Drake, her eyes filled with the same mixture of fear and hope that he was feeling. "We're ready, sir," she said, her voice steady but tinged with anxiety. Drake nodded, trying to give a reassuring smile. "Initiate the FTL test. Let's show them what humanity is capable of." The room fell silent as Elena pressed a series of buttons. The lights in the control room dimmed slightly as the ship's engines came to life, humming with a deep, almost thunderous sound. The large, intricate machinery surrounding them began to glow, each component working in perfect harmony. The test had begun. As the FTL drive powered up, the facility seemed to tremble. For a moment, it felt as though the very fabric of reality itself was about to be torn apart. The ship, designed for the test, was locked onto a precise course, one that would take them beyond the limits of conventional space travel. Drake's hands tightened around the controls. The first jump would be the hardest. If anything went wrong, they would never know what happened to them. The crew's fate, and the fate of Earth, would be sealed in the blink of an eye. The room was filled with the sound of beeping and whirring machinery as the countdown reached its final seconds. The tension was palpable. Sweat trickled down Drake's forehead, but his eyes remained locked on the monitor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The voice counted down, and with the final beep, the ship shot forward. For a moment, there was nothing. The entire crew felt like they had been thrown into an endless void, a moment of weightlessness that stretched on for what seemed like hours. But then, something happened. The stars in front of them, stars that were once impossibly distant, began to streak past them. Space itself seemed to warp and bend, a kaleidoscope of colors and shapes rushing by at an unimaginable speed. Drake's heart raced. They had done it. The impossible had become possible. But just as quickly as the exhilaration filled the room, it was replaced by the stark reality of the situation. The ship's trajectory was unstable. The test was working, but the ship wasn't fully equipped to handle the strain of such a leap. Alina's hands flew over the console, trying to stabilize the ship. "Stabilizers aren't responding," she shouted. "We need more power to the stabilizers. Now." Drake's heart skipped a beat. If the ship couldn't stabilize, they would be lost. They would drift in an unknown part of the universe forever, without a way to return home. "Increase power to the engines," Drake barked. "We don't have time to waste." Alina was already on it, but the situation was rapidly spiraling out of control. The ship continued to tremble as the tension inside the control room reached its peak. Time was running out. Suddenly, a violent shudder ran through the ship. A loud, metallic groan echoed through the facility, and the lights flickered. The crew was thrown into darkness for a split second. Everyone braced for the worst. Was this the end? But then, as quickly as it had come, the shaking stopped. A long moment of silence passed. The crew, heartbeats racing, waited for confirmation. Drake looked at the monitor. They had stabilized. "We did it," Alina whispered, a sigh of relief escaping her lips. Drake's gaze remained fixed on the screen, his mind racing. They had succeeded, but the consequences of their success were only beginning to dawn on him. The test was supposed to be secret, but with this technology, humanity now held the key to changing the balance of power in the galaxy. And that meant the Galactic Alliance, with its vast fleets and technological dominance, would soon be coming for them. The aliens, who had long dismissed humanity as insignificant, would now have to face the fact that they were no longer the only players in the galaxy. The balance of power had just shifted, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Drake turned to Alina. "We've done it," he said, his voice low. "Now it's time to show the galaxy what humanity can do." The first chapter of humanity's rise to power had just begun. The hum of the ship's engines reverberated through the control room, the sound vibrating in the bones of everyone aboard. It had been a long, difficult journey to this point, but Captain Lucas Drake felt a surge of excitement in his chest as the countdown continued. This was the moment they had been waiting for, the moment they would prove that humanity was no longer a species to be dismissed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The countdown echoed through the facility, filling the air with tension. When the final number rang out, the universe itself seemed to shudder. Time itself bent as the ship, the rising dawn, surged forward into uncharted territory. The crew was hurled forward, bodies pressed against their seats by the immense force of the FTL jump. For a split second, the entire universe felt like it was being ripped apart. Space stretched and twisted, as though the very fabric of reality had been torn open. Stars streaked by at unimaginable speeds, and the feeling was like flying through a cosmic storm, with no direction or control. The feeling was exhilarating and terrifying at once, an indescribable rush of motion. But the victory that the crew had imagined, that sense of triumph, was short-lived. The ship was shaking violently, the engines struggling to maintain control at such overwhelming speeds. The crew could only hold on as the alarms blared across the control room, indicating that something had gone wrong. Alina Torres, the ship's brilliant engineer, gripped the control panel tightly, her knuckles turning white. She had worked on this for years, sacrificing time, energy, and so much more. But now it felt as if the ship was on the verge of falling apart. She was doing everything she could to keep the rising dawn stable, but the unfamiliar forces at play were too much for even the most advanced systems to handle. "Stabilizers are malfunctioning," Alina called out, her voice strained with panic. "We can't keep this speed for long." Captain Drake turned sharply toward her, his face grim. "Keep it together, Lieutenant," he said, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. "We've trained for this. Trust your systems, trust the crew." Elena's mind raced as she worked furiously, pressing buttons, adjusting settings, trying to regain control. But she couldn't shake the feeling that they were flying blind, venturing into a realm they had never dared to imagine. The FTL jump had defied all expectations, but it was now threatening to consume them. As the ship continued its wild journey through the void, Elena's thoughts drifted for a moment to the battles she had fought before. The faces of her friends, soldiers she had once served with, flashed before her eyes. She remembered their smiles, their courage in the face of impossible odds. And she remembered their deaths, deaths that had been too costly, battles that had been too brutal. Her fingers flew over the controls with renewed purpose. The memory of those she had lost, those who would never see this moment, burned in her heart. They had fought for a chance at survival. Now it was her turn to honor their sacrifice. Come on," Elena muttered under her breath as she adjusted the settings, her fingers moving with lightning speed. The ship's systems responded, but barely. Every adjustment felt like a battle, every decision a gamble. She could feel the weight of the crew's trust on her shoulders. If she failed, if the ship was lost, all of humanity's hopes would go down with it. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the shaking slowed and the alarms began to quiet. The ship was still not fully stable, but they had made it. The rising dawn was no longer tumbling through space, struggling for control. They had managed to break free from the grip of the FTL jump, if only just. "Elena." Captain Drake's voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back into the present. "Status report. Are we clear?" Elena glanced at the readouts, her heart pounding. "We've stabilized," she said, her voice a mix of relief and exhaustion. "We're not in any danger right now." A collective sigh of relief swept through the crew, but there was no time to celebrate. The ship had just made its first FTL jump, an unprecedented achievement, and they had arrived in the unknown. Outside the windows of the rising dawn, the stars looked different. The familiar constellations that had always guided humanity's journeys across the night sky were gone. Instead, they were surrounded by unfamiliar systems, distant suns that pulsed with the energy of unknown worlds. The ship had traveled farther than any human had ever dreamed possible. "Where are we?" Drake asked, his voice steady but filled with wonder. Elena examined the star charts. "We're in an alien-controlled sector," she replied, her tone serious. "This area is part of the Galactic Alliance's territory." A chill ran through the room. The Galactic Alliance was a powerful coalition of alien species, and they had long viewed humanity as insignificant. But now, the humans had come, not as weaklings to be dominated, but as equals who had just unlocked the secret of the stars. Drake's expression hardened as he looked at the monitors. "We've just entered enemy territory," he said, "and they don't know we're here." The silence in the room was heavy. The crew knew the significance of their arrival. They were in a region controlled by an enemy that outnumbered them, outgunned them, and had long dismissed them as nothing more than an afterthought in the grand scheme of the galaxy. But now, with the power of FTL travel, humanity had a weapon unlike any other. The Galactic Alliance was about to learn that the humans they had mocked were not the weaklings they thought them to be. As the rising dawn drifted silently through the vastness of space, Elena couldn't help but feel a strange sense of fear mixed with hope. She had always known the odds were stacked against them, but this was different. They had taken the first step into a new era, and the challenges ahead were as terrifying as they were exciting. The future of humanity rested on the actions of this small crew, and failure was not an option. Elena thought of her fallen comrades again, their sacrifices, their courage, and their dreams of a better future for the human race. She owed it to them to push forward, no matter the cost. Her mind hardened with resolve as she returned to her station, her fingers moving over the controls once more. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore," Elena whispered to herself. We're fighting for our place in this galaxy. The rising dawn was about to take its next step, and nothing, not even the might of the Galactic Alliance, could stop them. The vastness of space lay still, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. The rising dawn and its fleet of human ships had made their first successful faster-than-light jump, an achievement that had never been imagined, much less accomplished. But as the ships emerged from the jump, the galaxy itself seemed to tremble with the realization that something had changed. Something had shifted. Back in the heart of the Galactic Alliance's command center, the leaders of the alien fleets were busy with routine operations, unaware of the shift that was about to shake the foundations of their power. The Alliance, composed of multiple alien species, had long considered humanity insignificant. The idea that humans could one day challenge their might was laughable. After all, they had never even mastered FTL travel. It was an impossible feat, a dream only the most ambitious of species dared to entertain. But as the alien fleets patrolled the galaxy, confident in their dominance, something strange began to register on their sensors, something they couldn't explain. Small, nearly invisible blips on their monitors. Ships that should not exist, ships that were moving faster than anything they had ever encountered. The data was contradictory, almost unbelievable, but it was there, flashing in front of them. The humans had done the impossible. They had breached the barrier of faster-than-light travel. Panic spread through the command center. The general in charge of the fleet, a towering alien known for his calm demeanor, now found himself gripped with uncertainty. He stood in front of the massive holographic display, eyes narrowed, trying to make sense of what was happening. He wasn't the only one. The entire command was thrown into disarray as the alien leaders tried to process the information. The human fleet had not only appeared in their space, but they had appeared with technology that defied everything they knew. How could they have done this? The general growled, his voice thick with disbelief. They shouldn't be able to. They shouldn't have this kind of power. The humans, they've crossed the line, said one of his subordinates. They're no longer the weak species we thought they were. We must act now. But it was already too late. The human ships were no longer sitting idle, waiting to be detected. They were moving fast, calculating, with precision. The rising dawn, along with its small fleet of ships, had emerged from the FTL jump right in the middle of the alien-controlled sector. The first few seconds had been spent assessing the situation, but now the humans had a singular focus. Strike first, strike fast, and prove that they were no longer the underdogs. Back on the rising dawn, Captain Lucas Drake stood at the helm, his eyes locked onto the starfield outside. The crew was ready, and the time had come to make their move. All ships, engage the enemy, Captain Drake ordered, his voice steady. We may be outnumbered, but they've never seen anything like us before. The first alien ships they encountered were massive warships, designed for domination, their weapons capable of annihilating entire fleets. But these ships were not prepared for what the humans had brought with them. The rising dawn had cloaking technology, a key advantage that allowed the humans to strike first before the aliens even realized what was happening. The human ships, hidden from the aliens' view, moved swiftly through the battlefield. As they emerged from the cloak, they unleashed a barrage of firepower. Blinding energy beams cut through the darkness of space, striking alien ships with devastating force. The aliens, caught off guard, fired wildly in every direction, their weapons useless against the elusive human attackers. They were unable to track the cloaked ships, their technology too primitive to counter the humans' new advantage. One alien ship, a massive behemoth, loomed in the distance, firing blindly into the empty space around it. Suddenly, a human ship appeared right in front of it, slipping past its defenses and delivering a direct hit. The alien ship shook violently as explosions rocked its hull. For a moment, the crew of the Rising Dawn could only watch as their enemy reeled from the unexpected attack. Then, the next wave came. The human ships, all armed with advanced cloaking devices and maneuverability that the aliens could not match, struck again and again. Their weapons were precise, hitting weak points in the alien ships that even the most sophisticated alien technology could not protect. It was a blitzkrieg of stunning force, an overwhelming display of power and strategy that the aliens simply couldn't adapt to in time. As the battle raged on, the humans showed no mercy. They weren't here to negotiate or make a statement. They were here to prove a point. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was no longer the underdog. The alien fleets began to splinter under the pressure. Some ships attempted to break away from the fray, retreating to regroup, but it was too late. The humans had already gained the upper hand. In a matter of minutes, the once proud alien warships were reduced to debris, drifting helplessly in space. Captain Drake watched the chaos unfold, his heart racing with adrenaline. This was what they had worked for, their moment of triumph. He had no illusions about what this battle meant. It wasn't just about defeating the aliens. It was about sending a message across the galaxy. The humans had arrived, and they were not to be underestimated. Outside the windows of the rising dawn, the scene was nothing short of breathtaking. The battle in space was a magnificent spectacle. Cascading explosions, starships weaving through the stars with precision, the very fabric of the universe alive with the brilliance of combat. Each alien warship that fell, each blast of energy that lit up the blackness of space, was a testament to the human willpower and ingenuity. But even as victory seemed certain, Captain Drake knew that this was just the beginning. The Galactic Alliance was vast, and they wouldn't take this lightly. The battle they had won would echo across the galaxy, but the war was far from over. As the last alien ship exploded in a fiery burst, Drake's mind turned to what lay ahead. "We've just begun," he muttered under his breath, his voice a quiet promise to the crew. "This is only the first step." And somewhere in the far reaches of the galaxy, the remnants of the defeated alien fleet would soon report back, their voices trembling with shock and fear. Humanity had proven that it was not only capable of surviving in the galaxy, it was capable of conquering it. The shockwave of humanity's victory would ripple across the stars, and the Galactic Alliance would never look at Earth the same way again. The battle in space raged on, an unrelenting storm of fire and destruction. The rising dawn and its fleet had delivered a stunning blow to the alien forces, but the fight was far from over. The alien fleets, though shaken by the humans' unexpected assault, were quickly regrouping, drawing on their vast technological superiority to push back. The tides of war were beginning to shift. Humanity, though outnumbered, had one advantage that the aliens could not easily counter: their resourcefulness and unyielding courage. Despite the overwhelming odds, the humans had shown that they were not to be underestimated. Captain Lucas Drake knew this well. With every strike they made, every alien ship they took down, he could see the morale of his crew rising, even as the battles grew more intense. Drake's strategy was simple but effective. Using guerrilla tactics, the humans struck quickly and decisively, hitting alien fleets at their most vulnerable points before disappearing into the vastness of space, only to strike again elsewhere. Their newly acquired faster-than-light technology gave them the ability to move faster than the enemy could anticipate, and their advanced cloaking systems allowed them to stay one step ahead. But the aliens weren't making it easy. They had the numbers, the firepower, and the experience of centuries of warfare. It was only a matter of time before they figured out how to counter the human tactics. As Drake watched the alien fleets reassemble, he knew that the real challenge was just beginning. It was in the heat of the battle that one of the crew's most beloved members, Sergeant Bonner, was gravely wounded. Bonner had been with Captain Drake from the very beginning. He was more than just a soldier. He was a friend, a brother in arms. His loss hit the crew hard, and for a moment, it felt as though the weight of the war itself might break them. As Bonner lay bleeding on the cold floor of the rising dawn, his life slowly slipping away, Captain Drake knelt beside him. Bonner's eyes were unfocused, but there was a strength in his voice as he spoke his final words. "We fight for Earth. For our families. Those words echoed in the minds of every crew member. They weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for the future of their world, for the ones they loved. Bonner's death galvanized the crew, transforming their grief into determination. They had no choice but to push forward. Earth was counting on them. With renewed resolve, the humans continued their relentless assault. They used their cloaking technology to their advantage, slipping in and out of the battlefield like shadows, striking at key alien fleets with surgical precision. The alien ships, despite their size and power, were no match for the human speed and ingenuity. Time and time again, the humans emerged from the shadows, delivering crushing blows to the aliens before vanishing once more. The human ships were faster, smaller, and more agile. They darted through the battle like predators, attacking from unexpected angles, exploiting the weaknesses of their enemies. The larger alien ships, despite their superior firepower, were slow to react, and that was all the advantage the humans needed. One of the most daring moves came when Captain Drake decided to take the fight directly to the alien capital ship, a colossal vessel that was heavily protected by a fleet of smaller warships. The Rising Dawn and its fleet of human ships launched a bold assault, using their cloaking devices to sneak past the defenses and deliver a devastating orbital bombardment. The sky above the alien capital ship erupted into flames as the human missiles struck with pinpoint accuracy. The explosion was enormous, sending shockwaves through the alien fleet. The capital ship, the heart of the alien forces, was left crippled, its shields shattered, and its weapons systems disabled. The humans had dealt a heavy blow to the heart of the enemy's power. But there was no time to celebrate. The battle was far from over. As the humans prepared for their next move, a new threat emerged. The alien warships had adapted. They were beginning to use their own cloaking devices to counter the humans' tactics. The advantage the humans had fought so hard for was starting to slip away. In the midst of the chaos, the humans faced another challenge. The alien forces had deployed advanced robotic soldiers to board the human ships. The metallic creatures, nearly indestructible and equipped with powerful weapons, began their assault. The humans, though outnumbered, fought back with everything they had. Captain Drake and his crew were on the front lines. They boarded alien vessels, fighting in close-quarters combat, using every ounce of their training and resourcefulness to hold their ground. The alien robots were formidable opponents, but the humans fought with a passion that the machines could not replicate. Every soldier knew that their survival depended on their ability to take down the invaders, no matter the cost. The battle inside the alien ship was brutal. Captain Drake led the charge, using his combat skills to slice through the robotic soldiers, his crew following close behind. They moved with precision, striking at key areas of the alien ship, sabotaging its internal systems. With every room they cleared, they gained ground, but with each victory came more casualties. As the humans pressed forward, the alien ship began to shake, the result of their successful sabotage. Explosions rocked the corridors, and the air was thick with smoke and debris. Yet the humans pressed on, determined to finish what they had started. Every alien vessel they boarded, every fight they won, brought them closer to victory. But the price was high. Bonner's death weighed heavily on Captain Drake. He couldn't shake the image of his friend, lying on the floor, his life slipping away. It was a constant reminder of the cost of war. Yet, Bonner's sacrifice had ignited something within the crew, a fire that refused to be extinguished. "Keep pushing forward," Captain Drake ordered, his voice steady, though his heart ached for the fallen. "We don't stop. We can't stop. Not for him, not for anyone." And so, the humans fought on. Despite the overwhelming odds, despite the alien fleets regrouping, they continued to push, to strike, and to win. The battle for survival had only just begun, but one thing was certain. Humanity had shown the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. As the humans battled in space with every strike they made, they proved that their will to survive was stronger than anything the galaxy had thrown at them. No matter the cost, They would fight for Earth, for their families, and for the future of humanity itself. The Galactic Alliance had never anticipated that humanity would rise to the challenge. For centuries, they had believed themselves to be the superior force in the galaxy, with their advanced technology and overwhelming numbers. But the sight of the rising dawn cutting through their fleets, slipping past their defenses with ruthless precision, was a shocking revelation. The aliens had underestimated humanity's determination, and now they were paying the price. The realization hit the Galactic Alliance hard. The humans weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for something much more significant. Their courage, ingenuity, and sheer willpower were proving to be powerful weapons that no amount of advanced alien technology could easily counter. Panic began to ripple through the ranks of the alien fleets, and desperation started to set in. They had to stop the humans, whatever the cost. The alien commanders, once confident in their ability to crush the human resistance, now scrambled to deploy every resource at their disposal. Massive reinforcements were called in from distant sectors, and the full might of the Galactic Alliance's war machine was brought to bear on the humans. But it was too late. The humans were already entrenched in the fight, their morale higher than ever. Captain Lucas Drake stood at the helm of the Rising Dawn, his crew ready for whatever the enemy would throw at them next. They had already achieved the impossible. They had breached the most advanced technological barrier known to any civilization, faster than light travel. They had crippled the alien fleets and caused chaos across the galaxy. Now, they were ready to finish what they had started. The final showdown was coming. Both sides knew it. In deep space, far from any inhabited worlds, the humans and the aliens would clash one last time. It was a battle for the future of the galaxy, a fight that would decide who would dominate the stars, the ruthless Galactic Alliance, or the resilient humans who had fought their way from the brink of extinction. The stakes could not have been higher. The humans had the advantage of surprise and innovation, but the aliens had the numbers and firepower. As the final battle began, it became clear that this would be a contest of sheer will. The human strategy was simple but effective. Strike fast, hit hard, and disappear before the enemy could retaliate. The Rising Dawn and its fleet of human ships launched into the heart of the alien armada, cloaking their ships as they moved in for the kill. The sight was awe-inspiring. Dozens of human ships, invisible to enemy sensors, slipping through the darkness of space, silently making their way toward the heart of the alien fleet. The alien ships, massive and imposing, were caught off guard, their weapons firing aimlessly in all directions, trying to track the invisible threat that had emerged from the void. Then, without warning, the humans struck. Missiles tore through the alien ships, their explosive payloads ripping apart the enemy's hulls. The Rising Dawn unleashed a barrage of devastating missiles, each one finding its mark with pinpoint accuracy. Alien ships exploded in brilliant fireballs, their shields no match for the humans' advanced weaponry. But the battle was far from over. The aliens, now desperate to stop the human onslaught, retaliated with everything they had. Beams of concentrated energy lashed out, tearing through the darkness. The alien ship's weaponry was powerful, but it wasn't enough. The humans, with their advanced cloaking technology, continued to slip in and out of the battle, launching surprise attacks from every angle. The aliens' numbers were dwindling, but they fought back with ferocity, unwilling to let their empire crumble. Captain Drake knew that the tide of the battle could turn at any moment, but he also knew that they couldn't give up now. They had come too far, fought too hard. The humans were on the brink of victory, and they had to push through, no matter the cost. As the battle raged on, the alien fleet began to lose its coordination. The morale of the alien forces plummeted as their ships were picked off one by one. The once formidable armada was starting to break apart, its ships fleeing in disarray, unable to mount an effective defense against the humans' relentless assault. The sight of the Rising Dawn and its fleet cutting through the alien ranks was enough to break their resolve. In a final desperate move, the alien flagship, a massive warship with enough firepower to obliterate entire planets, charged directly toward the humans. It was their last chance to turn the tide. The flagship unleashed its full power, firing beams of energy so intense that they could burn through the toughest human ships. But Captain Drake had anticipated this move. With a swift order, the Rising Dawn dove into the fray, narrowly avoiding the flagship's deadly energy beams. The humans, knowing that this was their moment, launched their final assault. With their cloaking devices still active, they positioned themselves around the alien flagship, using their advanced weaponry to target its most vulnerable points. The alien flagship, despite its immense power, was no match for the humans' superior tactics. In a final, explosive barrage, the Rising Dawn's missiles slammed into the flagship's core, triggering a massive explosion that lit up the battlefield like a star. The death of the alien flagship marked the end of the Galactic Alliance's reign of terror. The remaining alien ships, their morale shattered and their command structure crippled, began to retreat in disarray. The humans, though battered and bloodied, had won. They had proven that no force in the galaxy, no matter how technologically advanced, could stand against the power of human ingenuity and willpower. As the smoke of battle cleared, Captain Drake stood on the bridge of the Rising Dawn, looking out at the wreckage of the alien fleet. The stars above were quiet once more, but the echoes of the battle would resonate throughout the galaxy for generations to come. The tide had turned, and humanity had emerged victorious. In the aftermath, the galaxy would remember the day when the humans, the underdogs, had defeated the mighty Galactic Alliance. It was a victory that would inspire countless civilizations, a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the power of resilience. The aliens had learned a harsh lesson: never underestimate humanity. Captain Drake knew that this victory was just the beginning. There were still challenges to face, new frontiers to explore. But for the first time in a long while, he felt a sense of hope for the future. Humanity had proved itself worthy of the stars, and they were ready to take their place among the great powers of the galaxy. The battle for survival had been won. Now the battle for a new future could begin. The battle had been long and brutal, but now the stars themselves seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The Galactic Alliance, once certain of their absolute superiority, was in retreat. The warships that had once swarmed like locusts, dominating entire sectors of space, were now scattering, leaving behind a galaxy that was forever changed. Humanity had achieved the impossible, and in doing so, had earned its place among the stars. The Rising Dawn and its fleet had struck the final blow to the alien invaders, but the cost had been high. Captain Lucas Drake, standing at the bridge of his ship, felt the weight of their victory. It wasn't a time for celebrations. Not yet, at least. His crew had given everything to secure this future, and many had lost their lives in the process. Lieutenant Elena Torres, Bonner, and countless others had made the ultimate sacrifice. Their memories would be etched into history. Drake's eyes lingered on the stars outside the viewport. The vastness of space, once an unknown and dangerous frontier, now seemed like a canvas for humanity's future. Earth had proven its worth, had shown that it was no longer a distant, insignificant planet. Humanity had cracked the code of faster-than-light travel, a technology that had been thought impossible. It was their ticket to a new era, an era of exploration, discovery, and perhaps even peace. He thought of Bonner. The memory of his comrade's final words echoed in his mind. "We fight for Earth, for our families." Bonner had given his life for something greater than himself. That sacrifice had fueled the crew's determination to press on, to ensure that no one else would have to face the same fate. The death of Bonner and so many others would not be in vain. The fight for Earth had been won, but the battle for the future had only just begun. Humanity, once the underdog, was now a rising power. They had proven that they were more than capable of holding their ground, of defending their home and their way of life. But their success hadn't come through sheer force alone. It had come through innovation, resilience, and a willpower that no alien empire could have predicted. The FTL technology that had turned the tide in the war had also given them a new hope, a chance to explore the galaxy beyond their own world. As the rising dawn and the other human ships made their way out of the remnants of the alien armada, Captain Drake couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had taken the first step into the galaxy. They had achieved something that was once thought impossible, and now the stars were within their reach. The final stretch of the battle had been brutal, with countless ships lost, yet the sense of victory was undeniable. As the human fleet began to regroup and assess the damage, the alien forces continued their retreat, their morale shattered. The once proud Galactic Alliance, which had believed itself invincible, now understood the true cost of underestimating humanity. They had thought their technology and numbers would crush the humans, but they had underestimated the power of human ingenuity and determination. Now, they were retreating, humbled by their own arrogance. It was in this moment of triumph that Captain Drake allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. He knew that the price of victory had been steep, but he also knew that the future of humanity had been secured. Earth was no longer an isolated planet on the edge of the galaxy. It was now a force to be reckoned with. The FTL technology that had been so carefully guarded was now a part of humanity's arsenal, and it would be used to explore new worlds, to build alliances, and to ensure that no one would threaten Earth again. The emotional weight of the war's toll still hung heavily on Drake's shoulders. The faces of the fallen crew members, especially Bonner's, haunted him. But he also knew that their sacrifices were the reason humanity had succeeded. Without them, there would have been no victory. Without them, there would have been no new future. And in that, there was a bittersweet sense of peace. Looking out at the stars, Captain Drake couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. The galaxy, once a terrifying unknown, was now an open expanse of possibilities. The rising dawn and its fleet were poised to explore the far reaches of space, to seek out new worlds, and to forge humanity's place in the universe. The vastness of the cosmos stretched before them, and they were no longer afraid. Humanity had proven itself capable of anything. As the rising dawn began its journey toward the unknown, Captain Drake took a moment to look at the ship's crew. They were a team of survivors, warriors, and explorers. They had fought for Earth, and now they would fight for something even greater, the future. The faces around him were filled with determination, hope, and pride. They had won, and they would continue to win. "Captain," Elena Torres spoke up, breaking his reverie. "Where do we go from here?" Drake's gaze turned toward her, and a faint smile tugged at the corners of his lips. "We go forward. We find new worlds, new allies, and we ensure that what we fought for lasts. We carry the legacy of those we've lost, and we make sure their sacrifices were worth it." Elena nodded, a quiet resolve in her eyes. The crew knew that their journey was far from over. This was just the beginning. There would be more battles to fight, more challenges to face, and more sacrifices to make. But for the first time in a long while, they were not alone. They were no longer the underdogs. They were no longer the weaklings of the galaxy. Humanity had proven itself, and they would continue to prove it. As the rising dawn and its fleet sailed toward the distant stars, the final scene unfolded in breathtaking beauty. Earth, from a distance, appeared as a small blue marble suspended in the void, the birthplace of humanity, and the symbol of their triumph. The human fleet was heading out to explore the galaxy, to take the first steps into a new era. The stars were within reach, and the possibilities were endless. A voiceover echoed, Captain Drake's voice, steady and filled with determination. "This is only the beginning." And with those words, humanity's journey into the stars began. The galaxy was open to them now, and they would claim their place among the greatest civilizations the universe had ever known. The new dawn had arrived, and with it, a future filled with hope, adventure, and endless possibilities. Humanity had won, and the stars were theirs to explore.